My name is Bhing Navato. I've been working here in Singapore as a domestic worker for almost 28 years. I started engaging in poetry when I started being a volunteer. When I started volunteering with Home, it changes everything. My wanting to help domestic workers became a passion, and that passion leads to writing. I really want to advocate for domestic workers, any platforms that I can, be at to be, be the voice of this voiceless. I've been talking to many domestic workers who's been experiencing abuse from their employers. How will I tell people about this experience, about this abuse? No, I cannot just rant on Facebook blaming people. So I thought of writing something, like to write it in a creative way. People can easily relate into it. So that's how I started poetry. My poetry style is very simple. I want people to easily relate with my piece. I seldom use difficult words because I want to reach out to many domestic workers. And my poems is always like has the rhyming words at the end. I covered experiences of domestic workers. Sometimes I will, I will write my own experiences. I think all the poems that I wrote were all related to what I really want to be, how people will know these things. So all my poems are very important to me. I try to explore onto other things, especially when I'm given a theme. For me, my sense of writing is about how can I relate to that subject, because I need to feel it to write. I think my inspiration and the writers whom I really inspired are the story of everyone. It's very important to connect with the subject, or there's something like emotionally. And sometimes what I do is like look at my old photos, or sometimes if I'm busy enough, like I'm doing something and I see something that, oh, I need to write this one. The poem that really resonates with me is the poem I wrote about myself. It is titled The Frame of Yesterday. It's about how I look at myself before and now. Where am I now? Even though I'm a domestic worker. Being a domestic worker helps me to what I'm doing now, to where I am now. Like how people recognize me and my work and my passion and my advocacy. Frame of yesterday. I'm staring at you in this frame of yesterday, captivated by the scenery of your timeless piece. Splashed in colors of your emotions, I can feel the intention to experience the life you've been through. You emphasize the lines that defines the crooked path you walk into. Every hurdle that stopped you. Then I hear a melody in the background. Close my eyes as I listen to the sound. It brought me back to where you are. I can see the sun setting from afar. You were gazing at it while your mind at ease. Thinking of things, you're in peace. As you glance upon my shadow, your tear drops because you knew the dreams you created in the past, now an inspiring story that will last. You did it with determination, pushed yourself without hesitation. I open my eyes as you fade. In my presence, I'm amazed as I look at me in this frame of yesterday. I really love to recite because I want them to feel. Many domestic workers are afraid to speak to people or speak to their employers especially. They feel that they don't have a voice. But once you let out things, like you write and you speak, you're teaching yourself on how to do it properly. Because many domestic workers before, the one that I met during the COVID, a lot of them were writing, but they don't know how to speak. So the moment they started, reciting their poem, some of them were hesitant. They felt that they don't have a voice, so they're shy. But the practice makes it perfect. Now they're open to recite it on an event. All of them joined the slam poetry. I love slam poetry because it's where your feelings will comes out. When it comes to writing, I want to learn the different types. I think for me it's difficult, especially if I'm into easy writing. I've read Oprah Winfrey's book. I forgot the title already, but I really love it because it's simple. When I'm reading the book, it feels like she's just talking. That's how I want it to be. I mean, to easily understand things. I think before it was like a separate community, but these past few years, local writers collaborated with us. That's why now we can easily communicate. We can easily, learn because the local writers is helping us to write. I mean, sharing their skills with us. It's good to know that the local writers are supporting the migrant workers here. Aside from my poems, I really want to make it happen is to have a children's book. The two girls that I looked after for 5 years, every night we do story time. So I invented this story about Cling Cling Clang and friends. Those characters evolve in that story. Every day it's a different story about them. And it always need to be like a good story because it is my one way of telling Sky and Silver to be good to others, how friends help one another. I don't know if there's a domestic worker who has a children's book, but if it happens, I think I will be the first one. Last time I just write poems. I just want to connect with people like my same age, like domestic workers or maybe some employers who can really easily relate to the story that I really want to put out. But now I want to do something for kids. I mean, they can relate, their parents can relate, their nannies or domestic workers can relate into it. That gives me like a wider audience, like people who I can reach out. It is better to hear it from someone who's like me, my experience as a domestic workers, and I really want to share it with the younger generation.